Hi Michael, this is Tarot by the Tree. We're continuing with our 2x2 series where we discuss the major arcana cards and their place on the two trees, the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge. We've worked our way through the cards on the Tree of Life and we're now looking at their altar image cards on the other tree. We are on Sephiroth number 3 now. That's the place of Bina, understanding, and it is in this place where we see the aspect of the universal mother, the creator of sentient life. On the other tree, we see her altar image, and we'll discuss it, and we'll start now. Temperance is a tarot card, may not at first resonate with everyone. The images on the card are varied. Some symbols are unique and others echo the images on other cards. This can be a confusing card. There's a lot of imagery and the meanings may be confusing. We remember what side of the tree she's on, the side of severity, and we have to sometimes dispel notions of angelic character. The word temper, which is where the word temperance comes from, has two meanings. And I think this is where a lot of the confusion arises. When we look at many definitions or descriptions of what the temperance card is, we will see the first definition of the word temper or temperance used. And it is actually the second definition that brings us a little closer to the truth of the card temperance. Okay, temper has two meanings. The first meaning is restraint, self-control, abstinence. We look at the temperance movement, which was against alcohol. The idea of temperance is to curb your desires. There's the aspect of exclusion, not allowing or admitting certain things into your life. The first definition of temper has to do with restraint and positive change. And that's very often what we see in the card temperance. But there's another deeper meaning, and we know that because of her connection to the Empress. The other definition of the word temperance is harnessing reactions. Tempering is a process. It's extremely precise. It involves a mixture that is a very specific blend, a blend of materials, temperatures, types of atmosphere, mechanism for not allowing impurities. The tempering process changes the quality of something, and I think that's what we're going to see again and again in the card temperance, is a change in quality, not quantity. It's not more of something, it is something new. We'll take a look at tempering and what it means to steel. If you have a knife that's made out of tempered steel, you might think that because it's tempered steel, it's harder, you can get it sharper. But steel goes through all kinds of different processes. The iron has to be gathered, the iron oxide has to be gathered, turned into iron, the iron has to be added with just a little bit of carbon to make steel, and then the steel has to be made hard through fire and quenching, and finally you have this hard piece of steel, but it's so hard it's brittle, it chips, it can't bend, it'll break. Now we temper it. Surprisingly, tempering is an annealing process, it's a softening process. Tempered steel is not quite as hard as it could be, but it's much tougher. It will resist all kinds of breakage. Temperance is a change in quality. It can be an absolute new thing, or it can be an aspect within something that already exists. As we mentioned, Bina is the Sephira that the Empress and Temperance both live in. The essence of temperance can be found in the Empress. Okay. The Empress, she takes life and finds a balance. And throughout tarot, the idea of balance is very central. She takes life and finds a balance. She blends consciousness and imagination. The Empress is like birth. And when we think of the Empress card, I think we'll always come back to that idea. Temperance, on the other hand, is a little bit like a chemical reaction. It's like alchemy. And as we've mentioned before, temperance is the birth of a new quality. We'll do a description of the card. A winged lady, perhaps an angel, stands in a long white gown with one foot on the land and the other in the water. She holds twin golden cups and pours a blue liquid from one into the other. Her head is radiant. Waite refers to temperance as a male, although he goes on to say he is neither male nor female. Temperance, like the Empress, resides on the left side of the tree on the column of severity, which is the female column. She wears a solar disc, and we'll see this is really important. That's on her head, or it's a sun sign, and she wears it like a crown. The symbol of a triangle inside a square represents the spirit, or the power, the divine essence, which is the triangle, contained in every aspect of our planet Earth. On the right side of the card, the side of mercy or growth, we see a thicket of tall green leaves and golden lilies. On the left side, the side of severity or cleanse, we see a long, narrow path that winds over many hills toward the distant mountains. The mountain itself is surmounted by a radiance shaped like a golden royal crown. How is temperance like the Empress? They both demonstrate synergy. Synergy happens when they are able to mix together, isolate, and incubate with heat and moisture perfectly monitored and adjusted. The result is a product seemingly greater than the sum of their parts. This is synergy. Synergy, in a sense, is 1 + 1 = 4. It doesn't make sense mathematically, and that's the thing about synergy. When the two bits react, you get more from the reaction than you initially had. We can see that with a seed, and you put it in water, although it may not grow to maturity, that seed will sprout and grow and develop until the mass in that water of that young plant is far greater than the original seed was. We see it in a sperm and an egg, two fairly inactive things on their own, but when combined, have the greatest potential we can imagine right now, at least organically. And when it comes to more inorganic things, we can see chemical reactions that can be very surprising and culminate in things like nuclear reactions, where a bit of metal can cause a great explosion. There are echoes of temperance maybe in other cards. Now, the system of Tarot by the Tree was only developed a few years ago, and we were still investigating many of the correlations between the cards, and we have discovered many, but feel there may be more correlations or secrets hidden in these cards. So we'll look at a few. We're looking at the Temperance and this angelic form. We see it in the Lovers, where the angel unites two people, and together they are more than they were separately. they're more than they would be just two people in separate places. When they're together, there's more production, there's a greater value system, there's more honor. They just work together better. And that's what the angel in the temperance, I mean, in the lover's card. In the judgment card, we have the angel awakening everyone. And again, this is the idea of mixing the ingredients into a uniform entity, and from that achieving a far greater result than you did before. This is the effect of the angel on the lovers. It was uniting them. In the judgment card, it is uniting everybody. In the strength card, almost looks like it could be a young version of temperance. They are dressed similarly. Their hair is similar. And strength would definitely be an aspect of temperance. When we move from that to the sun card, it's very interesting. It definitely looks like a young temperance. And temperance carries the sun sign like a crown on her head, that solar symbol. There may be some way of uniting these two cards as well. The lesson of the Empress and Temperance. In every grain of sand, in every living molecule, in every atom is the potential of transformation. We live in a world that when you look at it from afar or over the expanse of time, it may not make sense. When you consider our planet Earth is largely made up of earth, or what we call soil, or what we may call dirt. The stuff we sweep from our doorstep, dirt. From that dirt, everything seems to materialize. There seems to be no end to it. From the dirt arose life. From the dirt arises the food that we feed on. But when I look at the Mars rocket blasting into outer space with great plumes of energy, all kinds of scientific equipment, I realize everything on that rocket ship was built from dirt. There was some kind of dirt. There was the bauxite for the aluminum, there's the copper, there's the trees that grow from the dirt for the rubber, and so on. The dirt that we have has the ability to transform again and again in more ways than we realize. When you think the first purpose of dirt would be to build a wall, and now from that dirt we can build rocket ships, I think that's the lesson in the Empress and Temperance. That great potential is in everything, even grains of things that seem to have no energy in them at all. We're looking at aspects of transformation and transmutation. We're looking at a different kind of birth. With Bina, you have the birth of sentient life, of consciousness. With the Empress, you have the birth of maybe different reactions, but the question arises, can we look at birth itself, as human birth, as a chemical reaction? I think that's part of what these two cards are saying, that on a very small molecular level, even atomic level, there are great transformations that can happen. As we mentioned, Temperance is on the side of severity. She transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Temperance is also a gatekeeper, and this is really important. Temperance and Bina are not warm, caring shelters for the injured and the lonely. Not at all. These are gatekeepers. On the side of severity, they limit the intrusion of the unwanted. There are no germs here. There's no unwanted bacteria here. This is a place where new things can grow. Temperance, like the Empress is a gatekeeper. She will not allow everything. She excludes and prevents the unwanted. She is stern. She can seem cruel at times, but most of all, she transforms. Okay, Joss, with that, why don't we turn to some of the questions, if there are any.
Is temperance a card of good news?
Temperance means that you can produce something wonderful. So this is about fortune telling. And when the card of temperance is laid describing a person, it informs us that this person is capable of producing something wonderful. But it goes a little step further. You don't need anything you don't already have. The message of temperance is look to the tiny and it will grow. Your job is to develop something wonderful. To do this, it is necessary to practice that exclusion, to keep the unwanted away. You cannot develop this new thing if you are allowing the unwanted into your life. That's one of the things that these two cards show us, that there is creation, but before creation, there was exclusion of the unwanted. The road of temperance is exact, specific, and restrictive.
Does temperance mean that I'm going to change?
No, it means you are going to produce something wonderful, unique, and difficult to achieve. You are the conduit in this change. And through that, you may gain some wisdom or understanding. But this is not about the change in you. It is about you producing this change that is unexpected.
Is temperance an angel and therefore an emissary of God?
Um, it depends on your belief system. Angels are a diverse group. The angel also refers to miraculous change, and I think that's the message here, is that there is something outside our normal deterministic cause and effect life that's happening, whether it's the birth of a child or a chemical reaction. There's something almost magical happening here, and that magical sense is brought to us in the form of an angel. The magic, the science of temperance might seem at times like divine intervention.
Kabbalistically, an angel can be anyone because everyone is available to us to bring us a message or to show us something in life.
So, Kabbalistically, angels are a positive influence, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's sort of the way I would see it too.
Is this a card about alchemy?
I think it is. In fact, if I had to pick one card in the deck to represent alchemy, this would definitely be it. And I think the messages of alchemy apply to this card too. Alchemy talks about a philosopher's stone and the ability to transform inanimate materials into other inanimate materials, specifically turning lead into gold. And I'm sure there are other applications too. They were never successful in that. However, alchemy can also be a way of understanding human psychology. It's a fascinating study. I don't know very much about it, but it is interesting. I think it's allegorical in some ways, that it applies to psychology.
I might have to amend that part about the angel, because the angel doesn't necessarily, it might not necessarily be perceived as a good message, but maybe later on you realize that you didn't like what happened, but ultimately it was the best thing.
Okay, I was going to say for the best. Yeah,
Yes.
all right, that's good.
What should I say if I'm fortune telling and someone receives the temperance card?
I would talk a bit about temperance, and I would remember the lessons of the Empress, but I talk about temperance, and I remind them that this is about birth and transformation. This is about, to some extent, taking what you already have, what's already there, and having it become something much greater and much better. Also, the caveat, the reminder in this card is that what you keep out is as important as what you allow in. This type of transformation depends on an environment free from certain things. If you get this card, transformation is possible, but it's not possible if you have an allowing nature that is unwilling to get rid of things that aren't going to be good.
Now, last week, Cobalt asked, what is the difference between the way the Empress creates and the way the Death card creates?
Okay, yeah. I remember Cobalt's question. You and I discussed it a little bit, and it's a great question. To me, the Empress signifies a new kind of life, a synergetic expression of life in an improved form. The Death card is a little different. It's sort of a new to you kind of life, and it arises from the deceased, but it may be a simpler form of life. Being life, it has growth, and it may turn into something else, but it may not be a complete shift of paradigms. It may be more of what you experience. It may be the continuation of life, where the Empress is the revelation of a new kind of life. And just a bit about the last question. Most importantly, I would say to a person who got this card in a reading is stop searching for the things you don't have. Work creatively with what you do have. Keep it pure and don't allow contamination. And I think that's sort of the message that the scientist part of this card is trying to bring us. And that's it for Temperance. It's related to the Empress. They both have aspects of a new kind of life in them. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.